Hello everybody and welcome to what should be a very, very exciting best of 5 final here at the Project Cars ESL booth here at EGX. And now, of course, I'm joined once again by Yorkie. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing very good. How are you, Jackie?
I'm feeling pretty fresh, you know.
Yeah.
I'm feeling awake and ready.
Yeah,
like,
too.
Like,
You ready?
I'm ready for this. I'm
cool.
ready for the adrenaline rush of our drivers giving it their absolute all.
Yeah.
And seeing, you know, just who is going to come out on top in this, of course, best of 5. The same format as what we used yesterday.
Yep.
5 different tracks, 5 different cars, and 4 people battling it out for, of course, that #1 spot to claim themselves the most points to win.
Yep, and it's looking very, very close today indeed. We have got 4 drivers who were about 8 tenths apart from each other in the actual time trials. So looks very, very close. 3 of the drivers are actually from TSA Racing, who are a group who mainly race on R Factor. And those 3 drivers actually set the 3 fastest times. The drivers that we have got from that group are Phil Morby, Matt Churgwin, Cam Brewster, and then our 4th guy, Jesse Jones. Jesse Jones. But Jesse Jones was literally right behind the 3rd place guy. So I'm hoping that he's going to be able to take the battle to these 3 drivers, and we should see some very, very close racing. As you can see, we've just gone up into a warm-up session, so they've got, the drivers are going to be driving out, getting used to the car, getting used to the track. First round that we're going to be doing today is going to be around Sonoma GP Raceway, and we are in the Mustang Boss GT4 car.
Nice.
So, yes.
So, I mean, what can you sort of tell me about that track? What's going to be going down there? What can we expect to see? Any tight corners where we might see potential collision, or really just where we're going to see everyone letting it rip and really giving it their all?
So the track is actually really quite undulaty. Pretty much the entire track really. It's very much up and down. A lot of corners are actually at the top of crests and also down in the bottom of dips as well. So it's going to be very difficult to try and manage the car, try and use the compression from the suspension when it goes down into the dips, and also try and keep the steering fairly light, fairly straight going over those crests, because this car's got an awful lot of horsepower. Give it too much gas and you'll probably see you facing completely the wrong way, and probably another driver coming directly at you, which you really, really don't want. So yeah, the track is pretty warm as well. It's kind of out in the desert over in the US, and a lot of undulations, very fast, very flowing circuit, a number of corners flow into another, but there are a couple of really tight, tricky technical sections as well. So a couple of good opportunities for overtaking. Overall, it is a little bit difficult to overtake on this track. However, there are a couple of key braking points where they can possibly make that move down the inside or down the outside if they're feeling very, very brave indeed.
Right, so maybe some potential room there for collisions once again. I mean, we expected, hopefully, to witness some clean races yesterday, but it didn't go according to plan, of course. I believe it was actually Tom Reck who had a really unfortunate run. He was doing very well towards the 2nd map until we got actually in a collision, and you know, that really adversely affected him. So maybe today, once again, we might be seeing some of this action going down. It
very much depends on how the drivers handle this pressure. I mean, it was unfortunate we had the collisions, but it's kind of to be expected. Hopefully we'll see this lobby a little bit cleaner today. We did also have some really, really good clean wheel-to-wheel action as well. That final race, the last half of that was absolutely fantastic. So I'm hoping we're going to be able to see some more of that in this round and these races. Hopefully the guys will provide the action, the entertainment that we are going to be looking for to bring you guys
and I mean,
a very, very fun Project Car stream.
We did touch on it lightly, but I believe we have a fairly high pedigree of competitors here, don't we, from this team? Yeah,
the guys, TSA Racing. So like I said, they do play R Factor. I think they've given themselves a try at Project Cars this time round. They do look to be very, very quick indeed. They've played a number of other racing sims as well, I believe. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly they can adapt their skills from the other sims into obviously Project Cars. It's not too dissimilar, but obviously slight differences here and there, and it'll be interesting to see basically how much pace they actually have, and I'm looking forward to actually seeing if Jesse can really take the fight to the other guys. It'll be absolutely fantastic to see him mingle in there with the TSA boys.
If the underdog can maybe come out of nowhere, the Dark Knight.
You've always got to support the underdog, so hopefully we'll see some good stuff.
Oh, it should be good. I mean, guys, as we did touch on earlier, it is going to be a best of 5 final 5 different tracks and 5 different cars. And I mean, yesterday we had a bit of fun, didn't we, with, say, even weather conditions to watch ours. We actually, well, Yorkie actually was the man behind the car pick. So
yeah,
anything you've got up your sleeve for tonight?
I think pretty much we're going to be running near enough the same sort of setup that we ran yesterday. A little bit of refinement here and there. There were a couple of things that I wanted to change in terms of the conditions changing were fairly rapidly, and particularly the second race. So we're going to go with a fairly similar setup because that worked quite well. As for what we do for obviously tomorrow and Sunday, we may tweak things again, but yeah, it worked pretty good yesterday. Hopefully the guys and their driving standards should provide that action and just really show off the game in its full potential, its full light. So let's just having a quick look at the warm-up lap times. The first 2 guys, Cam and Matt, both from the TSA Racing, they are actually 8/100ths of a second apart from each other, so very, very close already. And we are now actually going to jump into the race as well. So round 1 of our championship here at EGX should be coming to you very, very soon.
Not really too long to wait at all. Everyone just, they're nice and warmed up now and ready for what should be a very exciting first map. We'll just jump over into that spectator slot, and then we'll be ready to go, guys. So,
okay.
And then,
sorry, wrong one. There we go. So where are we looking? Looks like our 3rd place guy, Matt Churgwin, is having a look at the back of 2nd place Cam Brewster. In 1st place we do have Jesse Jones, and it looks like he's taken a fairly early lead. He's managing to build a little bit of a gap. It looks like there is some spacing going on between a number of the guys here. As you can see, them trying to use as much of the track as possible, and it looks like 2nd place is starting to close up onto 1st. So we shall quickly jump to him, and we'll see when the camera changes just how close they are. Just a couple of car lengths in it at the moment, as it looks like Matt is having a look up the inside of Cam, and I do believe that Jesse has unfortunately gone and spun off on the inside of the long left-hander there, going down the hill, and has dropped back into last place. He's lost quite a lot of ground, but these first 3 drivers, all 3 of them from the TSA Racing Group, looking very, very close indeed. Less than a car length between 1st and 2nd, about a car length back from 2nd place, and we do believe that there is a drive-through penalty for James Jones, which is very unfortunate in the first race, but there is obviously 4 more rounds to go, plenty of points to grab, and it looked like he did initially have a strong start. Obviously a jump start, he may have gained a little bit of time from that, but he did pull out a gap in the first couple of corners, so hopefully his pace, he'll be able to maintain the consistency and basically just get the discipline nailed down for the next few rounds. So that is the end of the first lap. In 1st position we do have Cam Brewster, in 2nd position we've got Matt Churgwin, and then in 4th, I get myself completely mixed up. In 1st position we do have Cam Brewster, in 2nd position we have Matt Churgwin, in 3rd position we have Phil Morby, and then in last position in 4th is Jesse Jones, who does have that drive-through penalty.
And I mean, so far the handling compared to yesterday already, we're seeing everyone looking fairly drilled. They seem to understand as well, and I mean, of course we did say the pedigree of the players is looking fairly strong right now, but everyone, they've got nice control. They're very aware of what is going on right now. Yeah,
at the moment the guys are looking pretty stable. They seem to be keeping the car under control, as it looks like Cam is going a little bit defensive here to Matt as they go side by side through this double right-handed hairpin, and Matt is going to slot back in behind Cam, and there's not really any opportunity to overtake through this SS section here. However, we do have a long left-hander coming up. If we could get a decent line through there and then line himself up for a good run through this right-hander that the leaders are going through now, he may potentially have an opportunity to look down the inside into the braking zone of this final right-handed corner here. It looks like Cam has got it pretty much covered, and Matt is going to follow him through behind. Be interesting to see just how close Phil has got to the back of second place. It looks like he has dropped back a few car lengths, and obviously going into the final lap now, this may potentially be the time for a couple of risky do or die moments. The guys a little bit of sideways there, just about managing to keep hold of the car. Can he get it slowed down and turned into the corner? Managing to keep the car on the track quite easily there, but he did have a little bit of a moment. It looked like the rear end stepped out as it went over that crest through the right hander. We're now coming into this long left-hander carousel. Roundabout here is where you get flat on the hard on the power, and the car just dips down. It does give you a little bit of turn-in bite and a little bit of extra turn-in to get into the inside of the corner and hook yourself up quite nicely. It looks like it may be closing up a little bit in the braking zones as we now come into the final stages of this last lap of this first round. Obviously best of 5. It's quite a long way to go yet. It doesn't look like the guys are taking too many risks, and potentially they could be playing the long game here as we come through the right-handed kink and now down into the braking zone of the final corner. And we cut back to the leader, and it looks like he's going to get through that pretty cleanly, pretty safely, and is going to come away and take the win of round 1. So Cam Brewster takes first position. We have Matt Churgwin taking second. In third place was Phil Morby, and then Jesse Jones, with his unfortunate jump start, has taken fourth. But of course we've got 4 rounds to go. There's plenty of points on the table to go for. So fairly good, fairly clean-ish from what it looked like. Fairly clean first race.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were saying. Of course, everyone looked very drilled there, very immediately showing nice form, and this is sort of what we saw towards the end of the best of 5 yesterday, but already very early on, everyone looking very switched on, prepared. Nice handling across the board from everyone there, and I mean, if this is just the beginning, we should have a very exciting best of 5 final coming up. Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see if the guys are going to try and push the cars a little bit more. We saw a couple of moments where the guys were getting a little bit loose and were losing the control of the car a tiny bit, but there was no real major incidents. I didn't really see any of you guys spinning off and spinning around facing the wrong way. So we are going to quickly set ourselves up for the second race here. Awesome, yeah, and then we should be underway. And I mean, as we said, we will be spicing up things a little bit, and we will be playing with weather conditions once again. I mean, yesterday we had actually really bad weather conditions on one map where we just went straight in with the rain. We wanted to give it our all and see if the players could deal with it. I believe we might have some of that coming up again tonight. That's exactly what we're going to do right now. So we are loading up into the next lobby. Again, they've got the 5-minute warm-up, but they're going to be racing around Brands Hatch GP in the Renault Clio Cup cars. And the idea for this is to have some mixed conditions. We're going to have both a mixture of dry and also wet conditions. So I'm hoping the way that we've got it set up right now is during this 5-minute warm-up session, it's going to start off dry and then it's going to get wet towards the end of the session. That's going to carry over onto the actual race. So it's going to start off wet and then hopefully it'll get dry towards the end. And it'll be interesting to see just how much control these guys do have in the wet and how much they are going to be willing to really push and take the car to its limits. And I mean, we know as well, of course, with the weather conditions, that's really going to affect all of these players' handlings, and of course the movement, as you said earlier, it affects really sort of how you have to take on your lap. You have to change it up, change your game plan. So is this really going to be affected by the style of car we've gone for here as well? What have we actually been chosen now? So we've gone with the Renault Clio Cup. It's a touring car setup. It's very, very light and it's front-wheel drive. You tend to find that the car has an awful lot of lift-off oversteer, so when you come into those braking zones and you come off the accelerator, the rear end of the car goes light, the front of the car goes very heavy. It gives you really, really good turning, but because the light is so rear, it just wants to wiggle itself around. It steps out an awful lot. If the drivers are skilled enough, they can control that with a little bit of opposite lock and also a little bit of throttle. If they can balance the throttle just right, they can get the car in a fairly neutral position and get the car very cleanly through the corner. What they need to watch out for
is not to get too hard on the accelerator coming out the exit, as obviously all the weight shifts to the rear and the front then becomes light. You lose that cornering grip and you tend to understeer, and you suffer from quite a bit of understeer on throttle in these cars as well. So it is very much trying to get that weight distribution and balance in the car in that neutral position. If they can hold it there, the car's absolutely fantastic to drive. Throw in the wet as well. The tyres are going to lose a little bit of grip. Hopefully we should see some little bit of tail happy action, and I'm hoping that the guys will still be able to keep it clean. They'll see some fantastic overtakes in this race as well.
So more of then, if you're a more experienced player and you are aware of how to really deal with this beast of a car and tame it, you will be better off here. So potentially definitely one for the team boys we have here, the group of 3.
Hopefully, but I'm still cheering on Jesse Jones. Come on, the underdog.
You never know. And I mean, of course, that's the car and the weather conditions out of the way, but what about the track? What have we gone for here? Describe it to me, Yorkie. Okay,
so Brands Hatch GP, British track, fantastic British track, to be honest. It's probably the second best track in the UK, second to Silverstone. They used to race here on F1 a fair bit in the past. It's now very much more motorbikes and also touring cars. They tend to race on this circuit, so the car and track combination should work very, very well. The track itself, it's got quite a few undulations. The back section of the circuit is very, very fast, very, very open. You've got a couple of very, very fast right-handers, and that's probably going to be one of the trickiest points for the guys, trying to get that neutral car balance and get the car turned in and in through the corner as quickly as possible, and try and keep the momentum of the car going, because you can lose quite a bit of speed, and if you do lose a little bit of speed, it's quite difficult to bring it back up. Also, that back section, it's got quite a nice long back straight going down the hill before the first right-hander, and that provides some ample opportunity for some slipstreaming as well, and these cars work very, very well in the slipstream. You do gain a fair amount of extra speed. And I'm just going to quickly take a look at the lap times in this warm-up session, and it looks like Matt is taking a fairly early lead with this one, and in second place Cam is just under half a second behind. Jesse is then at the moment in third, and then in fourth we have Phil, but obviously this is just a warm-up session, this isn't the actual race itself, so it'll be interesting to see who's going to come out on top on this one.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the thing as well, as you were saying, it is the warm-up, and you never know, when we get in there with the actual weather conditions as they'll be during the official race, that's when you could be thrown off. I mean, as we said, if we've got things right here, hopefully we should start off with wet and then finish with dry, or...
Yes, at least what we're hoping.
So, maybe.
Yes.
It's a potential, guys, but we'll see how that one goes. But only 20 seconds left now in the warm-up, and then we'll be getting underway as soon as possible with the second map here of the best of 5, the Project Cars Challenge over at EGX.
Yeah, big prizes to be won as well. Obviously all the drivers are going to get something from this, but the top 3 are going to get something a little bit extra, and obviously first prize is what ultimately everyone is going to be aiming for here.
That's the big boy. That's what you want to try and get yourself, net yourself that big trophy.
Of course. You want to walk away and say that you are the winner of Friday EGX Project Cars Championship round.
Of course. It's one of the dreams I've had since I was a small child. I always wanted to win the Project Cars Lap Challenge, but it never came true.
Okay, mate, let's protect
so here we're going into the race just very quickly.
Otherwise it's going to be very hard to overtake them.
Going to jump into spectator mode. Try and catch the guys coming down into turn 1, as you can see there. Let's see if they can get through turn 1 fairly cleanly. Looks like a number of them are taking it pretty easy, pretty steady at the moment, and all drivers are through without dipping any wheels onto the gravel. So looks like a good start so far by the guys. Let's have a quick look at the standings. So in first place we do have Jesse Jones, the underdog. In second place we have Cam Brewster. In third we've got Matt Churgwin, and in fourth place we have Phil Morbius. It looks like a couple of guys are running a little bit wide, using a little bit extra of the circuit on the outside there, as we now come through the left hander that now leads onto this back section. So it's going to be vital to get a good run out of this corner and potentially pick up the slipstream coming down this back straight into the first of the 3 right-handers. Just trying to see now. It looks like the cars are pretty evenly spaced out between themselves. Getting through the first of the 3 right-handers pretty cleanly by all drivers. This one's a little bit trickier. You need to watch the curb on the exit as well. It's very, very aggressive serrated edge. And it looks like it's bouncing the car there of Matt Churgwin. And now coming into this pretty blind, unsighted right-hander, and now into a left, which has a really, really nice camber on it as well, which really does help to get the car tucked into the inside curb and allows you to get on the power that little bit earlier and potentially get a good run coming out of the exit of the straight there. And now coming into the final corner to end lap 1. I'm going to start lap 2 now. And it looks like there's a little bit of space starting to build between the guys. And it looks like obviously the track has gone pretty dry at the moment. Hopefully we shall see some rain start to kick in towards the end of the circuit. And it looks like that Matt Churgwin has gone wide there in turn 1. That would have lost him a little bit of momentum. Potentially Phil Morby could be able to capitalise on that. And it looks like first and second positions, as we just jump to them now, aren't too far apart. It looks like they're using all the width of the track and a tiny little bit more on the exit there as well. Now coming on to the back section of the circuit. You see the leaves there kicking up behind the cars as they run through. Leaves across the track. Coming down the back straight. Doesn't really look like they're able to make too many gains on the drivers in front at the moment. I think they need to get a little bit closer to pick up that slipstream. Once obviously these cars are actually in the slipstream, they do benefit from it quite heavily, but you do need to be close to the car in front of you. And it now looks like the rain is starting to come in. The conditions are turning for the worst. And this is when it's going to get interesting to see just how much the drivers are actually really going to push in these conditions. Whether they play a little bit safer and just try and keep the car on the track, or whether they're going to try and push that little bit more and try and close up on the rear end of the car in front of them. We're still following Cam Brewster at the moment, taking a very, very nice line through the final corner as we come now to start the final lap. And we are very much well and truly in the wet and rainy conditions. Looked like Cam was taking a little bit later braking point there into the first turn. Both first and second drivers getting through it very, very cleanly. As we come through the hairpin, it does look close there right now, and it looks like Cam is pushing a little bit harder than Jesse, I believe, at the moment. Yeah, positions confirming that. So it is still the underdog Jesse Jones in the lead. Can he hold it through the final half of the lap as we now come through the long left-hander? Does Cam get a good run coming out the exit of here? It does look like he's definitely close enough for the slipstream now. Hopefully Jesse is going to go defensive, which he is. Going to hold the inside line, going to force Cam the long way round this right-hander, going side by side into this corner. Will both drivers be able to get through it very, very cleanly? It's definitely looking very, very close. Possibly a little bit of door rubbing there. Still side by side as we come into the second of the right-handers now. Both drivers being very, very respectful, and Jesse is going to eke out back in front and maintain his first position. If Cam can keep it fairly clean through this right-hander, may potentially be able to get another look coming down into the dying corners of this final lap, as it looks like Jesse had run a little bit deep there through the left-hander, but he is still maintaining the lead. Cam once again picking up the slipstream. I think Jesse's going to force him to the outside here. Both drivers coming through the final corner, and very, very close stuff indeed. Will Cam be able to get there before the line? It looks like they're going side by side, picking up the slipstream. It's pretty much going to be a photo finish as we come here across the start-finish line for this second round. Can we please get a wonderful round of applause for these two drivers? Very, very close racing, and the results there picking that up. So in first place, Cam is going to come away with the win. Very, very close there, 7/100ths of a second. Yeah. That is really, really, really very close indeed. Jesse is going to come away with second place. In third place was Matt Churgwin, and then Phil Morby coming home in fourth. So the missed conditions doing exactly what we wanted them to do, really throwing up some really close, interesting racing. That last lap, the last half was
really
spot
big
on. That was good.
The end there. We saw some really close stuff, reminiscent of what we saw last night, of course, and it's really awesome to see it this early on. Of course, there's so much more to come, and hopefully we'll be back in with the next map very soon. We'll get that set up, guys, and we'll continue on in this best of 5. And Yorkie, once again, we're spicing things up. We're going to be stirring the pot. What can we expect next?
A little bit. So we're going to be going from the Renault Clio Cup into a BMW Z4 GT3 car. We are also going to be changing the circuit as well. We're going to be racing at Sakito GP. We're going to be going back to the dry conditions. However, we're still not going to make it all that easy for the guys, and we're going to throw in some nighttime racing for them. So visibility will be reduced. It will be a little bit more difficult to see and pick out the braking points. Good track knowledge is key with this one, and it does also help, obviously, try and pick out certain features around the circuit, brake marker boards, various changes in asphalt colour conditions, and that sort of thing will be the key of trying to obviously nail the braking point and get the car turned into the corner.
I mean, of course, one of the things as well, Project Car is a very beautiful game, and in these night conditions is where we can really take the full effect of those lighting effects and really look at how beautiful some of this stuff is. We can see it in the rain as well. Everything looks very glossy and very nice, but at night this game is a whole different beast.
Yeah, so obviously, like I said, you've got reduced visibility. You obviously very much heavily rely on the headlights. There is also some track lighting around the circuit as well, but not the entire track is lit by the floodlights around the circuit. So there are some darker sections to the circuit, and obviously that's where you've really got to focus and pay attention to the landscape, the scenery around the circuit, and really try and help pick out those braking points.
It's another one of those where sort of your map knowledge needs to be on point at this point, and we've seen these guys, they're very switched on, very drilled when it comes down to this stuff, so I don't imagine it's going to be too hard of a task for them.
Hopefully not, although this, obviously it being a nice race, there is potential for them to make mistakes, but so far the consistency of the 4 drivers that we have had has been absolutely fantastic. Very good, respectable racing that we've seen so far. The guys are giving each other room when they're going wheel to wheel, which makes it a lot better. Hopefully we'll see more of this, and we're going to stay away from heavy contacts and
what we saw yesterday with the onslaught of cars. It was like we were watching Mad Max or something. It was brutal. Yeah,
not to take away from the drivers yesterday. Obviously their driving standard was really good as well, but I believe obviously with the TSA racing guys being here, obviously their experience within sim racing games, it's just setting that bar of driving standard just that little bit higher, and hopefully round 3 should once again provide another very interesting race.
Awesome. Now then, talking about round 3, in round 3, what can we expect with the car? You touched on it a little bit earlier, but why don't you give me the lowdown? Okay,
so BMW Z4 GT3 car looks absolutely fantastic. It's got a stupidly big rear wing on the back. Very nice sounding V8 engine. It really does roar, and in the real world, having stood trackside and seeing these cars fly past, they blow everything else out on the grid out of the water in terms of sound. It pretty much drowns out any other car, so sounds fantastic, looks absolutely fantastic. It's got an awful lot of grip on it. It's got very good efficient aero. It's very much a king of the wet sort of car in the GT3 class field. However, obviously dry conditions, we don't have any of that wet, but even still the track will suit this car quite nicely. Obviously very good balance on it. Its top speed compared to the other GT3 cars isn't quite as good. It's not up there at the very top, but still everything else on it is decent. This track will suit this car very nicely, as the first sector in particular, the S's section is quite tight and flowing. It's very important to get a good line through there, and then towards the back end of the section, especially sector 2 and sector 3, the circuit tends to open up a lot more. You got much longer faster flowing straights. Also the corners aren't quite as tight either, and you can take those with a fair bit more speed. So again, potential here for the slipstream to take effect. It's going to take some fairly ballsy and gutsy manoeuvres to try and get into the braking zones. It is actually quite difficult to overtake on this circuit, so hopefully we're going to separate the men from the boys.
Nice.
See who can jump on the brakes a little bit later than the other guy if they do get side by side, and see who can hang it around the inside.
Some
or
cheeky stuff coming out then in map 3. Awesome. Now then, give me your prediction. What do you reckon to expect here? What are you hoping to see on map 3?
Jesse Jones taking home the win.
Jesse Jones all the way. He's your boy, Jesse
got
Jones.
a little thumbs up from there over the side. Yeah, of course, one of the underdogs to win. I'd like to see Phil Morby move further up the grid. Hopefully we can see him push for second or first position. And so far, Cam and Matt have been keeping it pretty solid. Obviously, Cam has got 2 wins to his name right now. Matt Chergwin has a second and a third place to his name. I do believe he suffered from a little bit of an issue in the last race. I do believe he did run wide at the exit of turn 1, which obviously would have cost him a lot of time and cost him a fair bit of momentum in that. So hopefully he can claw it back for this one. And I'm just hoping that the guys can stick close throughout the entire duration of the race.
I mean, they've been fairly close so far. Everyone's been looking, very strong. We haven't seen anyone really lagging behind or, falling away from the pack. So it's been good stuff. And I think it shouldn't be too long until we actually get to witness some more of this good stuff, guys, as we will be jumping back in game in just around 10 seconds. And then we'll be witnessing some more of this exciting action.
Yeah. So, gearing ourselves up then, ready for round 3. Atsukita and the BMW Z4 GT3 cars. And we are now going to the grid. So you can see these lovely night effects already. And if you just bear with us one moment whilst we very quickly jump into the spectator mode. Here we are then, coming down towards turn 1. Looks like we've got a couple of drivers side by side. It looks like we're going 2 by 2 into the first couple of corners. The guys slotting in rather cleanly. It looks like a couple of guys have gone a little bit deep there, coming through the first turn. And the leaders now starting to come into this very fast-flowing SS section. It looks like we did have a guy run off wide into the gravel on the outside there. Let's see if we can quickly pick him up. There he is, just rejoining the circuit. And we're now going to cut back to the leaders. There may have potentially been a little bit of contact there, as I do believe. One of the drivers has gone and run off wide, which has given these two guys a pretty clear advantage. As you can see, a fairly significant gap building to third place. And we're going to very, very quickly jump to third and fourth. As you can see, they've picked up each other and are actually very, very close now as well. So it looks like we've got a little bit of a segregation here between first, second, who are obviously very close, and then third and fourth are a little bit further behind. So just looking at the standings at the moment, we do have Phil Morby in first position. In second position, we have Matt Chergwin. In third, we have Jesse Jones, and then bringing up the rear in fourth is Cam, who came away with the wins in the last 2 races. So it'll be interesting to see if he can claw back a potential comeback in this race, and see if he can work his way back up through the field as he come through this very, very fast left-hander, and then down into the final corner, which is near enough flat out. You've got to watch out for the curbs on the inside there. If you clip those, it will send the car out wide onto the gravel. And it looks like Matt is starting to pull away a fairly early lead here as we now come into lap 2. You see there the headlights of the cars, and we do have space building between first and second. The second is shooting a little bit of flames there out the exhausts. I'm just going to drop back to see how close third and fourth position are right now as we come through the ES section in this first sector. Now they are looking fairly close, a couple of car lengths in it. It'll be interesting to see if the guys are going to close up to each other. It looks like it's really fighting with some understeer there coming through this very long left-hander, but they're managing to keep it within the confines of the track, keeping it on the black important stuff, and managing to maintain the speed and carry that through without losing too much momentum, as it looks like third place is gone and lost the rear end of the car there, and he's gone into the wall. Our fourth place position, moving up into third. Cam moving up into third position. I don't know if he did end up clipping our fourth place, Jesse Jones. I was a little bit unfortunate there. There is actually really quite a difficult corner, as you want to take a little bit of curb on the inside, but if you take it too aggressively, too quickly, it will bounce the car and unsettle it quite heavily. And going to jump back to the leaders now, following Matt Churgwin, who looks like he's starting to close up a little bit on Phil Morby in front of him. And we're going to follow these guys now into the last lap of round 3 and see if these drivers are going to close up any more on each other and potentially battle for this first position. So coming through the double right-hander of turns 1 and 2, looks like both drivers are through that pretty cleanly. And we're now going to come into the Esser section. You've got to watch out for this dip just there, just as the camera cut away from the bumper cam of the car there. You can use that to your advantage to really get the car hooked into the apex of the first right-hand, and it's all just about maintaining a nice smooth flowing rhythm through these corners as we now come towards the end of sector 1 and into sector 2 as we come through these two right-handers. You can see there the Ferris wheel all lit up with neon lights there in the background. This is where unfortunately Jesse did have his spin as he came under the bridge on this figure of 8 circuit on the previous lap, and it looks like both first and second are through those corners now pretty cleanly. Obviously really opening the taps up on these cars, getting near to their top speeds as we come into this double left-hander spoon curve. And now this is where it's important to get a good exit out of here. I don't think our second position of Matt Churgwin is going to be close enough to challenge Phil Morby, pick up the slipstream through the dying stages of this final lap. And it looks like if Phil can hold it all together coming through this final corner, he should be coming away with the race win in round 3. And that is exactly what's going to happen. So Phil picking up his first win of the day. In second position we have Matt Churgwin, and then in third position we have got Cam Brewster, and then unfortunately bringing up rear is my favourite, Jesse Jones. Jesse, what happened?
Let down by Jesse Jones there, unfortunately, once again.
Yes.
Your underdog play. He's not been paying off for us.
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, he did have a little bit of a moment coming under that bridge. Did lose the rear end of the car, but he did have a good race in round 2, so hopefully he can claw it back for these final 2 races. And I'm going to very quickly do a quick calculation to see
some tally in here. Work up who's winning.
Yes, who is where.
Doing some math.
My math is terrible.
But yeah, guys, once we work out who is winning, and then hopefully we'll be setting up the next map, diving in to map 4. We're very close, Yorkie. We're getting there. 2 maps left. 2 remain to decide who is going to be the winner here. Exciting stuff so far. So, have you done your mathematics? So you know.
Okay.
You worked out the equations.
There's no equations on this one, but I've had a quick count up, and I think I'm just going to very quickly double check my calculations here. So in first position we do have Cam Brewster with 11 points. I believe in second place we should have Matt Churgwin, who should be coming away with 8 points at the moment. Then in third I do believe we have Phil Morby. Sorry, having a very quick memory blank right here.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. So you're kind of like a mad scientist, just there, just like working out the numbers. But instead of like trying to find a way to end the world, you're just working out who's winning a race. So it's pretty crazy. Like, that's some high-end stuff.
Okay, yeah. So
he's done it, boys. Who's winning?
We got there in the end. Right, so in the lead at the moment, we do have Cam Brewster with 11 points. In second place, we have Matt Churgin with 8 points. In third place, we have Phil Morby with 7 points. And then in fourth position, we do have Jesse Jones with 5 points. So it looks like Cam has got a little bit of a lead at the moment to the other guys. However, Phil, Cam, and Jesse are all very, very close. So, will we see a change of positions coming into
some clutch play that needs to come out here towards the end? We need to see some real high octane stuff to bring them back into this. It's not over yet.
Very much so.
Jesse, he can still do it. Your boy Jesse, but will he do it, Yorkie?
I have faith.
You have faith in Jesse.
I believe he can do it.
The underdog.
Indeed. So, just very quickly setting up the conditions for this next race.
As soon as we've got that set up, we will be jumping in with map 4 of 5 of this exciting best of 5 final, of course, at the Project Cars booth at EGX in Birmingham.
Yep.
Have you enjoyed yourself so far? Have you had fun?
It's been fantastic. I haven't really been able to go around the rest of the expedition, but from here it looks really, really good, and the project stand itself is really, really good as well. We've seen drivers constantly coming in through the day, asking about the game, been enjoying the play seats that we have here. We did a couple of multiplayer sessions earlier, and I was joining in with that as well. Sat playing from here I am with myself, playing away on the keyboard, which is completely wrong in a sim race, so you should not be racing with a keyboard, but still some absolutely fantastic moments, having a laugh with the guys. Obviously we've had the time trial booth going as well, which obviously required and got these drivers here where they are today. So
yeah, 'cause I mean, that's the thing. If anyone watching at home, of course, is coming down to EGX later on in the week, how this works is basically you can pop over to the Project Cars booth, say hi to us, queue up, get involved, do the time trial. We'll write down your score, we'll take your contact information, and then depending on where you actually place in your lap time, we'll contact you if you're one of those top 4, the elite 4 that go through to our finals here.
Yeah, you need to be in the top 4 at the end of the day. You do get invited back, and then obviously you're in the final here, which will be, as you can see, being live streamed onto Twitch. We've got myself and also wonderful Jack Peters, Jackie, shoutcasting you guys, and we do have a little bit of an audience behind the drivers as well, obviously watching, dancing away a couple of the guys, and just generally having really, really good.
Everyone's having fun.
Yeah, it's a good vibes, good atmosphere that we're feeling down here.
That's all we need.
Yeah, definitely. So,
I mean, it's just a lot like Project Cars. It's fun.
Yes.
Project Cars is a fun game, and we have a fun booth.
We do indeed.
Project Fun.
Yep, and we also had Andy Tudor earlier DJing away with his drum and bass music, getting the rave going. That was absolutely fantastic. Obviously, we tried to do a little bit of a Q&A earlier, but we did have some technical difficulties, but I do believe that these difficulties have now been resolved, as so far from what we're being told, the live stream so far has been going absolutely fantastic. So hopefully tomorrow we will be able to give you the Q&A that we've been attempting these last 2 days, and of course we've been giving away merchandise.
Of course, yeah, we've been doing a lot of stuff there, and we do have the timetable, so if you're at the event you can get involved in all this cool stuff and of course get some bits from a giveaway.
Yep.
And guys, hopefully not too long. We're just trying to get this sorted out and then we'll be jumping in game.
Okay.
So guys, what we'll do, so we stay for a short break.
Yes,
bear with us
be
and we'll
back
get
in
this
1
sorted,
moment.
and then we'll be back to continue on with map 4 of 5. Guys, don't go anywhere and we'll be back very shortly.
5 minutes. You ready? We can go get in line. Wheels are tight.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Unfortunately, we did have a slight technical issue, but I do believe we are now ready and good to go. So we are going to jump straight into the race of round 4. We're going to be racing at Hockenheim GP, and we're going to be racing the Orica 03 Nissan and LMP2 car with an awful lot of downforce, quite a lot of speed on it, and this car should be quite interesting around the circuit. We also got some mixed time of day conditions as well, so it's going to be dry throughout the entire duration of the race, but it is going to start at day, and then it's going to go into sunset later on. So
it should be interesting once again.
Jumping into the spectator mode, and here we go, coming down towards the first turn. Looks like the guys are managing to get through that relatively cleanly. Looks like third and fourth position here are going a little wheel to wheel, as it looks like third is going to try and slip around the outside of second, coming into this very tight right-hander. As we now come through the left onto the back straight, the guys going wheel to wheel as they come down onto this straight now. It's very, very long. Looks like our guy in fourth position is going to pick up the slipstream here, and we may end up potentially going three wide as we go down towards a very, very tight right-handed hairpin. We are going 3 wide. Will all these cars be able to get through here cleanly without any contact? It looks like a couple of the guys playing it fairly safe, being sensible. Looks like all drivers were through relatively cleanly. A couple of the guys running off wide using that exit runoff area, but still the positions are as follow. Jesse Jones is in first place. In second we do have Phil Morby. In third we have Matt Churgwin, and then bringing up the rear in fourth place we do have Cam Brewster. It'll be interesting to see how this will play out through the duration of this race, as it looks like Jesse Jones is pulling out a relatively early lead here. He's got a couple of car lengths, as it looks like one of our drivers had a little bit of a moment there coming into this stadium section, running out wide, losing a lot of the momentum and dropping into last place. It'll be Phil Morby, and it'll be interesting to see if he can move back up and gain a couple of positions, as I do believe it is Cam who's currently in third, and it looks like one of our drivers has gone off into the wall in the background there, just out of shot.
Yorkie, that's no claims out the window, mate.
Yes, unfortunately, and these cars are very, very, very expensive indeed. That'll be Cam, and he won't be too best pleased about that. And you can see him taking the curves relatively aggressively, trying to close that that gap to the drivers in front of him up as quickly as possible. Looks like Jesse is still holding the lead here with Matt Churgwin in second place, and then Phil has dropped down into third. So there has been a couple of swaps of positions, and it looks like Jesse has had a slight moment somewhere along the line and has lost that early advantage that he has originally obtained, as he looks like he ran a little bit wide there. There's a little bit of contact coming out the exit of the corners, but the guys do settle back into the positions that they're in. But that does now mean that second place was right on the rear of Jesse as they come through towards the end of sector 2. Looks like Phil is catching up to the rear of Matt here, that we are currently following. It's about a car length between the two as they come into the stadium section, and hopefully Cam may potentially be able to close up the gap as the guys are going side by side as we come into this left-hander. Phil making a very nice overtake indeed in that left-hander, slipping up the inside very, very cleanly, as Matt was giving him plenty of room, able to see him coming in the mirrors. And once again Jesse is starting to pull away, eking out that lead, and if Matt and Phil do continue to battle away, as it looks like we've had a slight moment there with our driver Phil Morbius is now slipped down into third position. He's now slipped up around the outside of, I believe, Matt there in now third. Yeah, that is correct. Just double checking that as they now come down onto this long back straight. I believe Matt has dropped off the back of Phil a little bit, so he may be out of slipstream range. It's going to make it very difficult to challenge coming down into this very tight, harsh braking zone and into the tight hairpin. And quite clearly at the moment not close enough to challenge for the move down there, and it looks like Phil, who we are currently following, is starting to close up on Jesse. May potentially be applying a little bit of pressure here. You see the guys getting through the sequence of corners pretty cleanly as we come now into the final sector and into the dying stages of round 4. And you can see the lighting conditions are slowly dropping away, which will mean that the temperatures in both the track temperature and also the tyres will be dropping along with the pressures, which will make it a little bit more difficult for these drivers coming through the final 2 turns now. And coming through, and it looks like Jesse is going to come away and take the win of round 4. Phil is going to come away in 2nd position. Then in 3rd it's going to be Matt, and then an unfortunate 4th position there for Cam. So quickly tally up these
interesting stuff
scores as well.
Yeah, interesting stuff there on, of course, map 4, and we're getting very, very close now to that final, the last chance effort for everyone. And how are we looking here with the scores?
We are looking very, very close coming into the final. Just about managing to hold on to his lead in this championship at the moment is Cam Brewster with 12 points. Very, very closely in joint 2nd is both Matt Churgwin and also Phil Morby. And then with 9 points, only 1 point behind 2nd and 3rd is Jesse Jones. So it has tightened up an awful lot coming into this final race. So we are going to very quickly set that one up, and we're going to try and jump straight into that as soon as possible.
Awesome. And I mean, what are we going to be seeing here for the final, the grand finale of this epic clash of the Titans? Of course, 4 giants going up against each other, making themselves look normal sized. Who is going to be the one to take it all, and what will be, their challenge? What map are we looking at?
So for those of you who are watching yesterday, you'll probably know this one as it is exactly the same. We're going to be racing around Dubai Autodrome, which is obviously out in the desert. Very, very hot circuit, so the heat conditions will come into effect with this. However, it's going to be fairly early evening around sunset, so we're going to see some very, very nice lighting effects with this one. And you can't race in Dubai without the Formula Golf cars. Open wheelers, very, very quick, very, very light, got a lot of acceleration on them, very, very good through the corners with an awful lot of downforce and good braking. However,
I mean,
we are going
we saw some of this
straight into the race with this one as well.
Let's get a clean getaway to defend that pole position.
So jumping straight in it, we are very going to quickly cut to the guys. You can see us there. We're currently following Phil Morby, who's going side by side with one of the drivers as we come down towards turn 1. All the drivers looking fairly close. Obviously these open wheel cars, very, very fragile, so if there is any contact, there will be a major, major off. So hopefully these guys can keep it clean in this final round. Coming through now into this relatively difficult section, this very long right-handers. It looks like there's a little bit of contact there between Phil and one of the other drivers. Phil doing the very gentlemanly thing there and waiting for the other driver that he made contact with to retake his position, and in and amongst all of that, it looked like Jesse Jones, who is currently sat in 3rd, did run wide in that relatively difficult section as well. So in the lead at the moment we do have Matt Churgwin. In 2nd place is Cam Brewster. In 3rd position is Jesse Jones, and then right behind him is Phil Morby. And it looks like we're going to go 3 wide into this very, very tight braking zone here. All the drivers somehow managing to avoid making contact with each other. A couple of swap positions there, as you can see, again going near enough 3 wide. Someone trying to perform the switchback maneuver off on the other guys and has managed to slip through in front, gaining a couple of positions. And some very, very close wheel-to-wheel stuff between these 3 drivers at the moment as we come through side by side into this double right double left-hander, sorry. The first one being completely flat out, and they're going to go into the braking zone into this long left-hander now. It looks like one of the guys is dropping in behind, trying to take a tighter line, as we are currently following Phil, who did run out a little bit wide, has now got a driver around his outside, but isn't quite managing to get that manoeuvre pulled off. He is slipping in just behind, tucking in. Will he perform a switchback manoeuvre coming through the final turn onto this long start-finish straight? So we're going to quickly take a look at the positions in and amongst all those driver swappings. And in second place we have Jesse Jones. In third we have Phil Morby, and then we have Cam Brewster, who's looking down the inside of Phil into turn one here. Will he be able to get the manoeuvre done? Not quite. Phil basically cutting off his acceleration line, meaning that Cam wasn't able to get on the power quite as hard. As there's a little bit of contact there, and Phil has gone spinning round and into the barrier there that we have just seen, and Cam has gone on rather cheekily slick up into third position. In second we do have Jesse Jones, and then in first we do have Matt Churgwin. He does have a little bit of an advantage at the moment, coming through this long back straight into quite a heavy braking zone and into a tight right-hander hairpin. There you can see Jesse. It looks like Phil has retaken that position, and Cam has stopped and let that position go back through, as it looks like a tiny little bit more contact there as he goes and tries to slip up the inside. And it's gone and lost an awful lot of momentum with that as well. Obviously the guys are trying to avoid making contact with each other, but at the same time this is the final. There's an awful lot of pressure riding on these guys to try and make up as many positions as possible, and obviously try and fight for that win in the overall championship, as it is very, very close between the drivers in terms of the championship point standings. Phil still maintaining third place, Jesse holding second, and then in first, coming into the final corner now to start the last lap of round 5 around Dubai Autodrome, is Matt Churgwin. So coming down the start finish straight now, I do believe one of our drivers does have a stop and go penalty, more than likely through contact with the other drivers, as there was quite a few hefty whacks here and there, some blows being traded, but I do believe it is all in good spirit, as we're currently following Jesse coming through into a relatively difficult section. As this first right-hander here, you bleed a little bit of speed, but you do get on the accelerator again, and then you have to get back onto the brake and tighten it up for a much, much tighter right-hander. Following through in this banked long left-hander onto the back straight now. I'm going to quickly jump on board as well, so you can see the scenery around the circuit. Obviously it's quite difficult to see that with the off-board cams. You can see the skyline of Dubai off in the distance there. Track looking very, very pretty indeed. And then you've got downtown Dubai over there, as you can see a couple of the skyscrapers off to the right of the track. As we're coming towards the end of sector 2 and in towards the final sector, there you can see the sun starting to slowly creep down. There is the fantastic skyline of Dubai itself, looking very, very pretty. Taking a very, very nice line, coming through the left-hander into this pretty much flat-out right-hander. And we're now going to pick up the leader as he comes through the final corner of this race, and is going to come across the start-finish line to take the win. So, very, very interesting final race there. A little bit messy from some of our drivers, but even still providing very much some very, very good entertainment. And I am going to very quickly just load up the final results here. and count those out and work out the final positions.
Awesome. A little bit more math once again.
Yes, something I'll be struggling with more than I should be.
Who is going to be our champion for day 2 so far? And of course, you know, it's going to come down to the wire here. It was fairly close throughout, so this really could be the decision maker depending on actually the placement of this map. And I think we will be having the finals grand stage ceremony here on stage actually, so we'll be having people coming up.
Yep, so just one quick moment, I should just double check these results and just double check that with our officials, and we shall be back with you very, very shortly to announce the winner. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a slight announcement to make here. We do have a tie for 3rd position, so we are going to do a head-to-head between those 2 drivers. They will be battling out for 3rd place in this race, and we are going to go jumping straight in with exactly the same race that we have just done. Just make sure that all these settings are correct and how they should be, which I believe they are. So once again, we're going to be racing in the Formula Golfs around Dubai Autodrome. This is the battle for 3rd position. We do have 1st and 2nd confirmed, however we're not going to announce those yet. We're going to get this race and this showdown done and out the way first. So,
but Yuki,
it'll be interesting.
What if someone was tracking the scores at home and then they already know? Yuki, we've been foiled.
Potentially, but do they actually know how many points are awarded to each driver from each race? So, here we go then.
Green.
Going into this last race. As you can see, we've got a little bit lower sun this time round. I have set the time of day conditions 1 hour later than it was, so we do have a bit more of a sunset vibe going on here in this race. At the moment, we do have Jesse Jones, who is currently leading this race and Phil Morby is currently in second. These are the two drivers that are fighting for this third position in this championship for today's final. It looks like both drivers are getting relatively cleanly through the sequence of corners. Looks like Jesse's running a little bit deep there through that double right-hander, which did allow Phil to close up onto the rear of his car a little bit, and if he can maintain the gap between himself and also Jesse in front, he should be able to pick up the slipstream coming down this long back straight. You see Jesse sticking way over to the right hand side of the circuit there, forcing Phil to follow his line, and obviously trying to take a fairly defensive stance very, very early on, as it looks like Phil was having a little bit of a look down the inside there, braking a little bit later, which had to force Jesse to open up towards the apex a little bit more.